Okay, our first review video, so let's go. Hello guys, GS Paintball here, and we will be switching things around today. Gameplay videos are still going to be the main focus on this channel, but this weekend is Mother's Day in my country, so none of my friends are playing. But I still have some B-roll footage of me playing a few games with the Phenom AK, and I thought, why not put all of that to good use and let's make our first paintball product review. I was planning on making a longer essay video like this once every month to discuss topics that I have not seen discussed in other videos. So anyways, I think it's a win. A few months ago, Upforge came up with a 1-to-1 replica of an AKM, and the paintball hipster in me just salivated at the possibility of finally having a replica AK that I could take to the field and finally live my guerrilla LARP fantasy and play with my mates with something unique. Then I saw the price on the thing, the fact that it's basically still a prototype, and how hard it was going for me to actually bring it into El Salvador. And I came to the realization that I was never gonna be able to afford one on my own pocket. Reality came crashing, but I was just not ready to give up. So that got me thinking, what is the best way to get a budget-friendly AK that resembles as much as possible the real one? So to start with, I had to choose a platform. The options were clear at the start. It either had to be a Tipman or a Planet Eclipse marker. I ended up going for Tipman because although the EMF is miles ahead performance-wise, that would have forced me to use 3D printed or plastic parts on the body, which to me wasn't an option. I wanted to go with real AK parts, so it needed to be one of the MCS conversion kits for Tipman markers. You know, real wood, real steel, real weight. So Tipman it is, but what marker to use? So when talking about Tipman, there are only two main valve styles. The good old poppet valve, which is what you think of when you imagine 98 internals, and the spool valve, which is the gamma core we have at home. Both are bulletproof, reliable systems, but the idea was to get as close to the AK as possible, and I wanted a kick. So to me, I wanted a poppet valve. At the time, the logical option was either an A5, a 98, or an X7 Classic. So the one that made most sense at the time for me was the X7 Classic, as MCS already had a very nice looking AK-12 replica using that marker as a base. So to me it was a no-brainer. However, after closer inspection, I looked at the dimensions, and to accommodate the poppet valve assembly, the body was 5 inches longer than an actual AKM. So it was perfect for the AK-12 prototype that MCS was going for, but it was just too long for an AKM replica. And I can see you typing on the comments, who cares about 5 inches? Well, 5 inches is a lot, okay? So, size jokes aside, the A5 and the 98 did not have the body proportions either, as those are just too narrow. So I went back to the drawing board and thought, what about the Phenom? It has the size and rough shape I needed, the availability of the MCS kits, and the reliability that I wanted. The only drawback is that due to how the spool valve operates, it has a lot less kick and you don't have the need to cock the mechanism, which is something I wanted. But anyhow, all puppet valve markers are cocked on the left side instead of the right side like a real AK. So it was a price I'm willing to pay. Moving on to the actual kit, this is a thing of beauty. The main metal pieces are based on standard AKM parts, while the beautiful blonde wood and front sides are original refurbished Norinco Type 56 parts. The way the wood attaches to the metal parts is the exact same way all AKM part kits attach. So if you want a different look to it, you could order real AKM parts kits from Palmetto, Sestava, or even Tula kits from Russia. If, on the other hand, 20th century gun design is not your jam, the kit allows you to use Senico, Magpul, or other modern kits. I am even tempted to get a second MCS Hurricane and get a second AK handguard just to build a near-peer AK Alpha build to rotate alongside my Up4 builds. So looks are 10 out of 10. But what about performance? This kit is really well built. MCS did an amazing job, so once everything is secured, there's no rattle, and the weight makes it a very stable shooting platform. The muzzle device that comes in as standard has very minimal porting, acting as a resonator, giving it that deep stout 7.62 bark that the AK is known for. Speedballers and performance hunters like quieter barrels, but if you're getting this puppy, one can assume that realism is your thing. So the fact that it increases the perceived sound is most welcome. That being said, don't like it? No problemo. The barrel is threaded, so you can remove it and add a flash hider which will tone it down for you. The barrel is special. It comes with the standard 12-inch hammerhead smoothbore barrel in 685, which is more than enough to extract every single inch of performance that the Phenom can offer. But that is the least they can do, because replacing this barrel is really hard. The gas plug is so tight around the barrel that any other barrel I tried will not fit through the gas plug. Maybe you could order a different hammerhead barrel which in theory will have the same dimensions, but the stock barrel comes with a metal O-ring that makes it fit snug on the gas plug ring. This is a limitation on the variety of barrels that you can use, but then again, the stock one is just so good that I really have no reason to replace it. The front side post is taken from a Chinese Type 56 AKM. You will recognize it because it's hooded, unlike East European models with open protective post. Again, these are surplus parts, so if your front side notch is canted, this is normal and can be fixed by using an actual AK signing tool. In my case, it came straight from MCS, so no need for the tool. Something else I'm really grateful for is that this sits lower on the barrel, so it actually merges with the rear side, something that the plastic tip models do not do as they sit a little bit higher. The handguard itself feels great in the hand. It has a few blemishes, but it is expected, as this is most likely a refurbished surplus item. To me, it adds character to an already beautiful piece, something you will never get from plastic or 3D printed kits. Moving back to the iron sights, I have a love-hate relationship with them. So let me get bad things out of the way first. As with the rest of the kit, they just took real AK parts and fitted them around the marker. So what I'm about to say is more a critique on the AK platform itself and not on MCS's kit quality. These sights, out of the box, were really sloppy. Even the slightest notch would move the point of impact 10MOA to the left. This, however, was easily fixed by using a super advanced sighting tool to bend the metal protectors on the left side to the point where the sight now sits snug. Once this was done using advanced Russian magic, the sight worked like a champ. Really good. The zeroing surprisingly matches a paintball round ball by a factor of 10, meaning that if you zero it at 200 meters, you can expect the ball to be level and accurate up to 20 meters. So you have two options for zeroing. You can use the American Freedom method of zeroing at 200 meters and aiming the sights right on target, or you can use the superior communist way of zeroing at 400 meters, which is 40 meters for paintball, and aim not to the chest but to the belt buckle area. This means that no matter what distance, anything within 40 meters will guarantee you a torso shot. That being said, take it in consideration that most shots in paintball will happen within 20 meters and that most shots will be not to man-sized full torso targets, but to players who will only expose very small pieces of their bodies. Having a more reliable shot within 20 meters is more important than having a kind of accurate shot all the way to 40 meters. Now let's talk CQB. Can you do it? Yes, but that was never in question. If American Marines learned something in Fallujah, is that any rifle can do CQB if you're brave enough. So the question is not if, But how? So with a 12-inch barrel, this puts the marker just 2 inches longer than my stock Tipman TMC. So the length is not really a problem. The problem, as always, is the sights. So you see, CQB fighting relies strongly on your ability to acquire targets by using your sights efficiently, which of course can be done extremely easily by adding a red dot or a holo sight to the top. At the end of the day, it's a Phenom, so it uses standard Picatinny rails and you can add whatever sight system you like. But adding electronic gizmos to this spoils the look, kind of like adding a happy face to the Mona Lisa if you ask me. This drops beautifully into the Caveman EOTech. Never heard of it? Here, check this out. You will drop the sighting system all the way to the rear, allowing these two protective notches to pop up on the sides of the sight. Then, you will place the front sight roughly center of the two notches and your paintballs will hit right on the top edge of the front sight. So the idea is that now you can aim with both eyes open as you would do with a red dot or a EOTech, and your shots will hit where the front notch is. Moving back, nothing to write home about. It's an MCS Hurricane kit. I will have a review on it later, but for now the only thing notable is that I switched to the V2 Magwell, which is a paddle mag release instead of a button, making it more in tune with the AK manual of arms. Moving out to the stock, man, this is comfortable. Unlike AR replicas, which follow the American doctrine, the AK stock follows the European doctrine that calls for shorter stocks in lower cheek positions. So what do I mean with that? The stock itself falls at an angle, allowing you to place your head and mask lower on the marker, so in turn allowing you to more easily use either the iron sights or red dots with your mask without the need of a riser. Kind of like how a Didam and an EMF will have the stock position lower than the barrel line, and imagine Russians were doing this all the way back in 1947. And finally, the sling mounting points. Nothing to write home about, but I want to add I ordered a real AK sling from a Russian site because I live in El Salvador and there's no Russian embargo here. The sling came right in the mail with no hassle, and to me, it just completes the classic AK look. So, third world country for the win. And what are my final thoughts? I love it. The kit itself has great quality, it is amazing, and it has decent performance. And it opens up the door for the AK market, whether you want to go the classic "Niet, rifle is fine" look for the kit, or if you want a more modern AK look. Will I recommend this to a new player? No. If this is your first marker, do yourself a favor and buy a TMC instead. But if you are a veteran player who is after his third or fourth marker, do give this a chance. It has the performance of a high-end marker with the reliability of Tipman, and a character that you will never achieve with a plastic or 3D printed parts. So that was it. That was our first review. We're gonna be doing more of this. I am hoping that the next video I put up is gonna be more gameplay, but stay tuned. We're gonna have more interesting things. So like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.